I did not put the bowl there. I would not do that.
And police discovered fingerprints on a bowl of pineapple left in the family's dining room on the morning of the murder.
I didn't put the bowl there, okay? I did not put the bowl there. I would not do that like this.
If those prints belong to one of the two of you.
They did? You sure?
What about Christmas Eve? When you were going up there, did you guys have a snack before you went to bed that night?
I forget.
What was JonBenét's favorite snack?
I don't think she had a snack.
Hello, welcome to my channel, Straight Out of Context. I am Barbara Ann, and this is Pineapplegate. If you have not been following for the last 28 years the unsolved murder case of JonBenét Ramsey, then you probably wouldn't be familiar with what Pineapplegate is. December 26th of 1996, 6-year-old JonBenét Ramsey of Boulder, Colorado was found deceased in the basement of her own family home. But her autopsy showed that she had undigested pineapple, not canned pineapple, pineapple with the rind still in her stomach, meaning that she had eaten pineapple within 20 to 30 minutes, likely of her becoming deceased. Another really big forensic clue in this whole entire case was an unidentified flashlight that was left standing upright on the counter inside the kitchen of the family home. Now, the family had come back home that night. JonBenét was asleep, and they carried her up to her bed. Next thing they know, the very next morning at 5:50 a.m., her mother, Patsy, goes down the spiral staircase and finds a 3-page ransom note. And at exactly 5:52 a.m., she calls the Boulder Police Department. Investigators found the fingerprints on a glass with a tea bag in it belonging to her 9-year-old brother Burke, but also found fingerprints on the outside of that bowl that belonged to her 9-year-old brother Burke and her mother Patsy. As far as we know today, DNA has never been done on the glass, the bowl, or the spoon, and they have never even released whether or not they did any kind of fingerprinting on the spoon itself. The Ramseys were very known for decorating around the holidays. Not just one room, all of them. JonBenét was known to absolutely love fresh pineapple, cut apples, and grapes. It was said to be her favorite snack. Now, this is the Ramsey kitchen completely cleaned up, and on that counter is where that huge Maglite flashlight was standing straight up that did not belong to anybody in the family. But Pineapplegate is in reference to what is going on here. Did she eat that after she came home? It's not possible because her mother and father said that she was asleep. She fell asleep in the car and they had carried her in and placed her in bed. And the next thing they know, the next morning, well, everybody knows what happens from there. So there's a lot of theories on whether or not the intruder was somebody that was known to JonBenét, and if he had fed her pineapple before then taking her downstairs to the basement and offending. And you got to remember, their house was over 6,300 square feet. It was a very large house, and the parents' bedroom was on the 3rd floor on the other side of the house, opposite of where this would have been taking place. So it's very possible that the intruder was somebody that she knew, or somebody that was dressed up as Santa Claus, which any child would trust. Or it could have been somebody that was just had tased her, because the taser marks don't make any sense. Why tase a child unless you're afraid they're going to respond and be screaming or upset because you're a stranger and they don't know you? So the whole thing has been very bizarre from the beginning. Investigators of Boulder, Colorado had completely botched this case from day one. They never even traced the pineapple, the fresh pineapple, to the source. So they had no idea if the perpetrator had brought it into the house or if it was used by the perpetrator, but it was already from inside the house. And as you can see in this picture of them dyeing Easter eggs, they almost always kept fresh fruit on the table or counter inside their home. This is a crime scene photo. That flashlight right there is the one thing other than a rope upstairs that they completely could not identify as having been belonging to anybody inside the home, which leads me to believe that flashlight was the perpetrator their way of being able to see when they got inside the house. Now, it's debatable whether or not that person was inside the house for hours while the Ramsey family was gone and they were laying in wait until they were asleep to then go upstairs and tase JonBenét and then take her downstairs. But either which way, it doesn't make any sense, because if she didn't know, how would an unknown perpetrator be able to get her to comply to eat pineapple? But there's another theory that people didn't think about. The fact that that pineapple in that tea could have been Burke's, because Burke was not asleep and he was 9 years old. And he said that it was possible that he came downstairs and that maybe he had a midnight snack, hence why his fingerprints are on the glass and the outside of the bowl. And maybe JonBenét had woken up and come down and just willingly was eating some pineapple when her intruder came up from the basement. That's maybe when the intruder tased her and then took her down. The intruder theory makes a lot more sense, but that theory is not plausible either, because there was a rope that the intruder brought into the house and left on the second story where JonBenét's bedroom was. We're thinking that rope may have been not sufficient to tie her up or to make the knots that he wanted, and that's why he left the rope upstairs. So it's likely probable that the intruder was somebody she didn't know or was not familiar with. And he had tased her to incapacitate her and keep her quiet just so she didn't alert her parents on the third story in their bedroom. And it's very well possible this pineapple was just something that she had gotten up and eaten herself. Or if she did know the intruder being known to her would have very nicely been able to get her to eat a snack and act like nothing was wrong. Especially if the intruder would have been dressed like Santa Claus. Any child on Christmas Day would go to Santa Claus. It has been my opinion, my own personal opinion, for the entirety of this unsolved case, that it truly was a PDF file, an intruder who broke into the home and unalived JonBenét Ramsey. I want to know what you think about Pineapplegate and what you think about the evidence surrounding the JonBenét case. And I want to know what you think. Who do you think it was that did it? The only thing that I ask of you is, if you deep dive into this case, please only look at facts and true evidence. Do not look at 28 years of media scrutiny and lies and misinformation that has surrounded this case, because the Boulder police wanted to deflect and negate from the fact that they botched this entire investigation from the very moment they were called into the home. They wanted to put the spotlight on the Ramsey family themselves, but in 2009, they were completely cleared by DNA. Yes, there was DNA on JonBenét's panties in the vaginal area mixed with her blood. There was DNA found on the waistband of her pajama pants. However, that DNA did not match anybody in her family. It is a foreign male DNA, and from my understanding, I heard before that it was Caucasian, but do not quote me on that because that is alleged. So they can tell a lot by that DNA, even if they don't have a match to it. If it was an outsider who was feeding JonBenét pineapple, why would he be in her bedroom on the second story and leave the rope that he brought with him? Why would he leave his flashlight on the counter? Why would he need to tase her to incapacitate her, to keep her quiet, to then take her downstairs to the first floor and then down to the basement where I believe the crime actually happened? All I know is that to this day, there is a very strong likelihood and possibility that the perpetrator and the offender of this crime can and will be caught. But it is up to the Boulder Police Department to turn over that DNA to her father and her living siblings, and to CC Moore, who she can actually do a reverse family tree by a very distant or close family DNA match, and she would be able to catch this person the same way she caught the Golden State Killer. Maybe one day we will actually know what's behind the mystery of Pineapplegate.